Hello there. This is the first time we've actually spoken. It is the plot coalition. That's kind of crazy. I like just as soon as I called you, I was like, wait a second, have we ever actually talked before? It is. I'm trying to figure out how to make the Discord call go full screen. Uh, right, that's not an option on here. I don't know. Let's see here. I can drag it down like most of the way, yeah. But I wonder if I share that, if it'll do anything. Oh, there we go. Pop out. There we go. And then I can put this. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. That knew me by mouse. Yeah, so I went ahead and I already stitched both films together. So I just lopped the credits off of both of our films. Um, and they fade into each other. So I figure we can just keep it pretty pretty straightforward. I might mute on the Discord call for a moment while I like introduce my stream, and then we can roll right into it. Do you have any questions before we get started? I'm indifferent. I'm talking to the director. So yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And yeah, the more authentic it is, the better in my opinion. So sure, I can do the same thing. All right.
Are we live? I have no idea what's going on. Okay, I haven't streamed in like over 10 years, so I'm super new to this. I already screwed up the Discord everything. Hey everybody, my name is Sam. I'm the writer and director for Helldivers Forever War. I'm really excited tonight. We're gonna chat with Plot Coalition. He is the prime mover behind the hit film For Liberty. You can go watch that on his channel. It's massively popular. It broke the internet. It's a fan film set in the Helldivers universe. It was a huge momentous occasion for the Helldivers community. It was a lot of fun. And they have been working on their own animated anthology series. They have just released their first episode, episode 1, Cold Sun, which you can watch it on their channel, Plot Coalition. We're going to be talking with the director, Caleb Chamberlain, tonight. And we're going to do some director's commentary, kind of a debrief of each other's episodes. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I've wanted to chat with Plot Coalition for a while. We now are able to make it happen. So we're going to go over my film and his. We're going to go over episode 4 as well. We're also going to go over his episode 1. It should be a lot of fun for you guys. So let's get into it. So I think Plot is doing some housekeeping on his end. Appreciate you guys helping out or coming to the stream. This should be a lot of fun. I got the chat going. This should be good. Yeah. Plot Coalition absolutely broke the internet with that.
Into it over here and pull up on the screen. I know he's introducing his. Here he is.
And we're back.
The man, the myth, the legend himself.
We are so back.
All right. We are so back. 2 episodes on the same day. Kind of crazy. Let me make it a little bit bigger on my screen. Oh shoot, I can't really change the size of it's right here. That's all right. Yeah, that's it was a good day for fans of Helldivers to get both films back to back. Sam, do you want to, for anybody who doesn't know, introduce yourself a little bit and tell people about Helldivers Forever War?
Yeah, my name is Sam. I'm the writer and director for Helldivers Forever War. It's an original series that I started myself almost about 2 years ago. It's original content. It's original take on the series, aimed at exploring what the series is about, less from a gameplay perspective and more from the overworld, just kind of the overall vibe of Super Earth, and exploring what the rules are and what it allows in terms of cinematic potential. So we have 4 episodes out. We just released our 4th episode on the same day as Plot Coalition released his first episode. And we have 3 more episodes after that, and then we have a couple of more episodes in production. So it's been a lot of fun. The support has been great, and I'm really excited to chat with Plot Coalition here tonight. I've been wanting to do this for a while, so I'm excited.
Same. Well, yeah. So if you guys haven't seen the film or any of Sam's other films, go and check out his YouTube channel. He's got some great stuff over there. But we won't waste any further ado. I did start a Q&A in my chat, so I figure after each film we can go and see if anybody has any specific questions about the films themselves. But
Absolutely.
We can dive right in, and any place we want to hit pause or comment on something, I figure we can do that.
Let's
throughout.
do it. Perfect.
Sweet. I'll go ahead and hit play. Guys, be on the listen. If you haven't seen this film yet, there's a superb voice actor in the very beginning.
Yes, there is.
I hit the volume a little bit. I'm curious, from like the 1960s, 1950s, is there a specific show you referenced for this opening bit?
It was initially the Batman cartoons. I did pull a little bit of like the style from like the older Pokemon cartoons. Just to kind of get that like I don't mean it like this, but like that kind of cheap animation style that was also prevalent in the Batman cartoons. But yeah, those were those were the 2 big influences for the Truth Enforcer cartoon.
Yeah, it came together so well. I like when I saw it when you sent it to me when I was streaming that one night. I loved the fact that it looked like this, that I looked like this. I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah, it came together, and the sound design. just icing on the cake. It was absolutely fantastic.
100%. Who's is that the same guy who did? I know. I think I saw it in the comments of the film. He mentioned like doing the stuff on the moon. Did he also do the
Yes.
sound design here?
Yes,
Sweet. And who,
he's our sound designer for basically the entire series. That's I'm gonna intentionally mispronounce his name so that people know how to spell it. But Vladislav Zarkov, Zharkov, on YouTube. He's a cinematic artist, composer, and sound designer. An absolute genius as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, he elevates our episodes to an unfathomable degree, and he did the sound design for this episode, for this mini cartoon, for the low atmosphere environments that we're going to see here in a minute. Just an all around, just a fantastically talented guy. Great to work with him.
that's awesome. Yeah, I love the liberties he took with this one, but we can get into that,
Yep.
especially when we get into space. So
Yep. Yep.
Liberty and peace guide me. That trains my hands for battle and my fingers for war.
I will say I was watching this just before uh, the stream, and I was thinking back to some of your older videos when like the automatons couldn't even move, but that was just like the limits of where you were at with it.
Yes.
So it's crazy to see how much it's escalated with each episode. It's super
Yes.
cool.
Yeah. It's humbling to see to see my own inadequacies at first, but then like because I look back at the first episode now and I'm like, oh, that was all really easy. I could have just taken, but so it was crazy to be like, they move now, man. Like my characters in my animated film move now. Like this is revolution. But it is what it is. We got there eventually.
No, that's part of the growth and everything. I think it's fantastic. I love this interstellar level shot right here on the helmet. I love those kind of lockdown shots.
I really don't. I'm gonna be honest. I hate lockdown shots. They drive me crazy. But there's one in this episode. There's one in episode 3, and they work. And everybody's like, those shots are great. And I'm like, I hate lock on shots, but I agree they do work. I don't know what to do about them anymore.
I think I think part of it was going to see is it Act of Valor? Is that the movie they made with the Navy SEALs that couldn't act, but like the action scenes were pretty
You
faithful?
know, I've never seen that movie, but everyone I know has talked endlessly about it. They say it's one of the best. It's one of the more visceral representations that you could see out there. But I haven't seen it yet.
It's definitely like it's cool because you can tell when the stunts are real because it's literally just like they strap a GoPro to like a piece of equipment and they're like, we're just gonna film this
Oh,
blowing up. So
that's cool. That's
it's
very cool.
so I think that influenced some of my love of lockdown shots. What I did want to point out that I noticed, especially with this episode, is there are a lot of shots like this that just they elevate a little bit more with not only just the action scenes, but just these little inserts that you started adding to your films that just like bring more weight to the scenarios and the situations.
Hmm.
Because like in this up to this point when we first get introduced to this character with the machine gun, like he's huge and he's got all this armor on, he's holding a large weapon,
Mhm.
but then it's like you got the zero G's and stuff working with it, but him being propelled backwards I think is such a nice detail that I feel like a lot of filmmakers, especially folks just kind of in this fan film space, kind of miss out on. Is that something you're storyboarding ahead of time, or are you just like, you know, going through and being like, actually, it'd be really cool to have this kind of shot in this action beat?
That would be so that particular moment would be something that we added. That would be added kind of later on. So the storyboard for us would get, or for me, I still do most of this myself, but the storyboard it would just kind of get the general gist of it, and then we could go in and add those little inserts. So that insert might have been added a little bit later, but that was actually something that I was thinking about. I've had a couple of comments, and they're probably right about this. That because of the low atmosphere and the low gravity, that he probably would be flying off into the stratosphere at comical speeds because of the recoil. But the so that insert is to kind of acknowledge that there's recoil, but like maybe I don't know, like he's got his moon shoes on or something, like he's got like his anti-gravity. I don't know, shut up. But um everything breaks down at some point.
The rule of
Exactly.
cool always wins.
Exactly.
So
I had another comment come in and they were like, well, if it's low atmosphere, all of their guns are going to warp into like crushed aluminum cans after 10 rounds. And I was like, why don't you shut up? How about that? Like,
yeah, I'm on board with that. I got the same thing about the ICBM in my film, so I get it. People are like, he would go flying, or it wouldn't affect him at all. And I was like, I
okay,
don't
I
know,
wanted
man.
to,
Part of the
okay,
movie.
that was actually early when I first watched it. That was actually a criticism of mine. And so I went into the game and did an ICBM mission and intentionally stood like and tried to replicate it on my own, and I survived, and I didn't get knocked back. So I was like, okay, all right, all right. I think Plot knows what he's on about, and it's a cool shot. So
There's an in between there. Exactly. That's all that matters. Just like we're seeing right here. I'm also curious. So this is something you do a lot in your films, but you love to blow out your highlights and like add a nice glow inhalation over
yes,
them. Is that something that is how it comes out of source filmmaker and the way you're using it, or is that a stylistic choice?
that's both. So I will intentionally light things a bit harsher. Now, this one actually was intentionally that way because it's low atmosphere, so it's going to be a
Mm-hmm.
much harsher. It's going to be a much more harsher light source. Take a look at something like Episode 3. It was a little more diffuse and more restrained in the lighting because it's a sandstorm and all that. But I do like my I do like my blown out highlights. There's something I've noticed this. It seems like people, it seems like filmmakers are trying to make, like, I guess sensors are better to where we can have the sky and the not sky, I guess, be the same level of filmmaking terms and stuff, right? But like
Yeah, the dynamic range.
there you go.
The
There
yeah.
you go. Yeah, yeah. Thank God somebody smarter than me is on this stream. But yeah, they have the same dynamic range. But to me, it's like, but humans don't see that. Like when I go outside, and if it's you know, if it's high noon and it's just bright out, it's like, well, that part gets blown out of my vision. Like it's hard for me to look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if everything has the same dynamic range, it loses the sense of it looks weird to me. It just it doesn't have the same kind of cinematic feel. So yeah, I like my blown out highlights. I think they look good.
Yeah, no, I think it also just like I think in a world where we're so used to seeing CGI that is like they're like already in real life shooting they're trying to over you know they're being way too clinical with the image, but then when it gets into CGI it's like on a whole other level of like they're like, well, we can't have like this level of imperfection on it because that like we have the ability to control it. Whereas like
Mm.
I feel like with films like yours where it's like, no, like lean into that, this is what it would look like, and I think it plays better in this next couple of sequence of shots that you have here, where it's like you're using it as a filmmaking tool to be looking at, you know, uh, the cadet character and having everything much brighter, so that way when you're looking at the truth enforcer, everything is more backlit and menacing, even though the cadet doesn't necessarily see it that way. I feel like it elevates the film. And you don't necessarily have anything that is like so blown out you can't see it, but this is more realistically what it would look like or feel like coming from a lens of a camera if you shot it, on a DSLR a couple of years ago. I was gonna say on your phone, but I feel like even your phone flattens out the image a little too much with the dynamic range.
It probably would. I haven't filmed IRL in a few years I've been hardcore doing this. It is funny how I noticed that like folks like you and I and that more make stuff on CG are still trying to replicate those imperfections that we would be like, we gotta correct these imperfections. Like if we were filming these in real life, we're like, it's too blown out. We have to. And so it's this weird inversion of I'm intentionally adding like shaky cam and like tilted kind of angles, and it's like, well, if we were doing this in real life, that'd probably piss me off. But it's a fun challenge to replicate. It's a fun challenge to replicate in CG.
100%. No, I agree.
What do we have, cadet? Sweet liberty. Sir, escape pod.
Also, the voice actor for the Truth Enforcer is fantastic.
Sure, it's.
I have a story about casting him. I don't know if I'm going to tell it or not.
I'll handle this, cadet.
Okay.
It's more on the side of like, because it's rather on the side of like what it's like to cast as a director. It's not like a bad story or anything, but it reveals a little bit more on that side of things. I don't know if anybody would find it interesting or not. I think it's a great story, but yes, overall, he ended up being a fantastic choice, and all of the comments agree. To kind of tease at that story, he was not actually my first choice, surprisingly.
Okay.
But he ended up just being the more I got to work with him and the more I listened to him, I was just like, I almost didn't choose him. How could I have done that? I would have ruined the episode. Oh my God. I almost ruined this whole episode. Although actually, and this is something we could talk about because you had mentioned to me in the feedback that you gave me that the action scenes felt a little bit on the filler side, and I agree with you, and that's mostly because action's not really my strong suit. That's something that I would say is a bit of a weakness of mine. I tend to be a bit more on the dialogue and drama side, which is why I think the trial scene here. Anyway, dang, I was going to go somewhere great with that. It was going to be awesome, but unfortunately, I talked myself into a corner. So I'll probably pick that. I'll probably pick that strain back up. Let me go back to what you first said. Yes, the voice actor is fantastic for the Truth Enforcer. It was great to work with him. That's Doof Guy VA, by the way. Y'all can he does a lot of work on TikTok. Y'all can find him there. Fantastic voice actor.
Amazing. All right. We're coming up on a shot here that I want to talk about just real quick to speak to, and it's this incredible shot right here. I don't think it's appreciated enough. Sam, do you want to speak a little bit to what this shot is and why you chose to use it right here?
Yes. So this was a shot that I actually tried to do in episode 3. It didn't quite work out because of the lighting and the particle effects. It ended up in most people's minds being an homage to the first game. For those of you that don't know, the first Helldivers, you play in more of a top-down isometric kind of view, but this specific shot it confused a couple of people, and the reason but the reason we chose this shot specifically, so the effect in this shot is called I believe it's called a tilt shift effect. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's called a tilt shift effect, otherwise known as the toy box effect, and they call it that because the way the angle of the shot and the intense depth of field, the blur around the subject, makes the subject look like it's a toy. And that was a specific intentional decision. So when you see the Inquisitor, the Inspector Inquisitor, whichever, when you see the guy in white, when he's first introduced, he's large and in charge, and he fills the frame. And then we zoom in on his helmet with the crest. And that crest is the crest of Super Earth. And then the next shot is him on the right, and the flag. We then shift the focus to the flag, which has the same crest. So it shows his loyalty because they have the same crest, and he's looking up to the flag, right? And then this shot, is from the Flag's perspective, looking down on him as Super Earth sees him, which is a cog in the machine, which is as a toy soldier. So this shot, as big and impressive and intimidating as he is, he's just doing his job. He's just a toy. He's just a toy soldier, which is also why we did that shot for episode 3. Was for the same effect, was to show Cadet Cosmic as he is, as he was used by the squad that came and went, as a toy soldier, just being told what to do and where to go, and him saying, "In the name of liberty, sir." So that's the intention behind this shot.
Yeah, and it's an incredible one too, and it's not just for the audience. It's not exclusive to CG either. This is a real effect you would do shooting on a lens that is called a tilt shift lens, that basically puts the lens at a slight angle to how it's facing the sensor, and it creates this really thin strip of focus that gives this same kind of feeling. Those lenses tend to be kind of expensive, so if you have a DSLR camera, you can do something similar. I got mine right here. If you just pop the lens off and open it just a little bit, you don't want to do it too much because you don't want to leave your sensor open to dust or whatnot. But when you do that and you look through your viewfinder on your LCD screen and point the camera at something, you'll see just how thin that focus plane gets, and it's because the the first lens or the first piece of glass in the lens is basically being treated the way it would if you pulled binoculars away from your eyes a little bit. And that's what creates this incredible amount of depth. So to see it in this film being used as an intentional storytelling device, I think is just incredible. And it's even more so just when you look at something like this and with the escape pod, the terrain and everything, it looks like you're looking at a diorama of something, but it's speaking more to their real lives.
Thank Liberty. The doors were jammed. Didn't know if I was ever.
Commander Proctor,
Also, shout out to
you know,
Matthew Smart in both of
Yes.
these films.
Yes, he got 2 roles. He was the cadet for me as well. So he got 3 roles on the same day. That was a big day.
Big day. Shout out to Matthew.
Arthur Proctor, call sign Oracle. The Ministry of Truth hereby charges you with the high crimes of treason against Super Earth, theft of government property, desertion of Super Earth armed forces, breach of enlistment contract, and collusion with known enemies of Super Earth. Your court-martial has been predetermined. You have been found guilty on all charges and are sentenced to a dishonorable discharge, effective immediately. For the charge of collusion and breach of contract, you have been sentenced to execution. May liberty have mercy on your soul.
I'm so curious when it comes to the dialogue. Do you write that entirely on your own, or are you pulling inspiration from anything specific for this scene in particular?
I'm trying to think. So it was around this time that other films like the actual dialogue, I don't know of any direct influences, but one of the the character sheet that I gave for Inquisitor Fyodor here, the guy in the white, was a combination of G-Man from Half-Life and Hans Landa from Inglorious Bastards. And so Inglorious Bastards had made its way into my algorithm, seeing clips from the movies and all that. And so I was watching a lot of the opening from Inglorious Bastards, where Christoph Waltz is going into that house where they're hiding refugees. and I was just watching that scene repeatedly. Funny thing about that scene is that's actually a play on the good, the bad, and the ugly. The bad introduction. What's his name? Angel Eyes, I think. So that's actually Tarantino's
Mhm.
take on that scene from the good, the bad, and the ugly. But so just a lot of indirect influences and kind of pulling from here from there. So I'm trying to think if I don't remember a direct influence when it comes to the charges that I wrote for him. I think that was just he's an official character. He's kind of prim and proper and going through the motions and doing his thing, and he would just list out the charges. That came from an early version of the script where it was much different than what it is that we're seeing here. So yeah, Inglorious Bastards in some way did play a huge inspiration on Fyodor's character.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. If anybody hasn't seen the scene that Sam is talking about specifically from if you haven't seen Inglorious Bastards, go watch that movie.
Yeah,
But the
I would
opening
almost say
scene,
stop watching the stream. I mean, watch the stream and then go watch Inglorious Bastards.
yeah, no, it's a phenomenal film, and it has incredible writing, but also probably one of the most tense interrogation scenes where nothing really happens but the dialogue is so compelling that that's
Yes,
what drives everything.
absolutely.
Very similarly in the Hateful Eight, which is another one of
Hmm.
his films.
Hmm.
I remember watching the extended edition of that, and I didn't even realize that 5.5 hours went by. I was just so engrossed in it because it's written and directed so well.
I forgot there was an extended version. I may have to go watch that again.
It's pretty fantastic.
It's a good one.
Defendant make a plea.
Your court-martial was predetermined. Pleas are nullified.
May I make an appeal?
On what grounds?
False flag operations to incite the Galactic War. District 48.
In your storytelling process, is there a reason why you chose this event or set it up this way specifically?
So like District 48,
Yeah.
that seemed to be a little known. Now at the time when I wrote this, so when I wrote episodes 2 through 6, it was late 2024, early 2025. So all of these episodes are like a year and a half behind active game time. So what was and was not public knowledge has probably shifted in the time that I've written these episodes. But at the time, it seemed that District 48 was a little known piece of lore, and like no one knows anything. They probably do now, but at the time, it didn't seem like anyone knew anything about it. It seemed like this nod from the first game, and even in the Wikipedia pages where people were writing about it, there wasn't a whole lot known about it. There were I even seem to recall that there were mixed that like in the game there were mixed reports of what actually happened. Some reports were saying that actually like thousands were killed. Some reports were just that only a few were killed. Some were that it was a conspiracy. Some were that it was actually cyborg automatons from the first game that initiated. And I was like, okay, well, this seems like something to get. And really, I was just looking for something that would. So you're looking at the escape pod in the game, and you're going, "What is this for?" Because you don't know what it's for in the game. You're just told to. I don't know. I don't even know what you do with it. You just go to it and you press your keypads, and so you're looking at the escape pod and you're going, "What is this for?" Well, the doors are kind of man-sized. It's an escape pod. Why would someone need to escape? Maybe they know something. Okay, well, what's worth knowing? Oh, there's this thing in the lore called District 48. That seems like it would be worth knowing. Let's use that.
No, that's fantastic. I will be entirely honest. I'm a good hell diver. I keep my head to the ground. it wasn't until I watched this film that I thought about that, where I was like, wait a second, why are those escape pods just there, and why do you need to go get the data from them? And then run away and just like, keep going.
Yeah, yeah. There's a few other side objectives that I'm side eyeing and being like, I wonder what we could do with these things, because there's a lot of ambiguity in the Helldivers narrative.
100%. It's a good playground to write within.
Oh, absolutely, it's a lot of fun.
The Galactic Federation started this war over 100 years ago. We weren't aggressed. We were the aggressors. That device confirms plans of a staged attack against our people carried out by federal agents on civilian installations in District 48.
What happened at District 48?
An automaton sympathizer carried out a terrorist attack on Super Earth territory, killing 8 civilians.
Appeal denied.
Such a hard line.
In one sense, it's kind of hard to look at the stuff that I write and direct, because there's, and I don't know about you, but there's this weird sense of taking pride in your work, because it's like, well, you did that, like obviously you're proud of it, and it's like, no man, like this went through a lot. Like episode 4 was the weakest episode for the longest time. I thought about scrapping it entirely.
Yeah, I 100% get that. That happens all the time with my own work, where I feel like it's oh wait, it's not the end. I forget that you have the newscast cut right in. But yeah, no, I have that happen all the time where like I might not like after looking at it for so long and knowing everything that it went through and seeing every imperfection every time I watch it, and then like when people come back and they're like, we love this is like the best thing we've ever seen, it's like, really? Because I don't think so.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember when we were working on For Liberty, there was like in probably like the 10 days leading up to it, I was like, it's so bad. I don't know what we're gonna. I was in such denial.
I get that 100%. That's tough, man.
Yeah,
That's
so
when, that's tough. That's when you have to decide if you're gonna, like, I remember that with episode 3. Episode 3, we got to the end of it and it was 95% done, and I was just watching it and I sat there and I went, like, excuse the language, but like, this is dog shit. Like, I can't put this up. This is terrible. I'm going to have to rewrite it. I'm going to have to pay the voice actors again. I'm going to have to do more animation. Oh my God. And it pushed it back like 2 to 3 months. And it was totally worth it. It wasn't in that moment. In that moment, it was like, I'm gonna get a real job. I hate everything and everyone. This sucks. This was stupid.
that is the actual experience of creating. I feel like when you're this deep into it, and I feel like not a lot of people experience that in its fullest until they're doing stuff like you and I are, as far as like getting these films across the finish line, getting multiple films across the finish line, and just like, I mean, I don't know about for you, but for me, it's every single time. It's like, this was a horrible mistake. I wasted my time.
Yes. Dude.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Okay, so talk to me about this before we get into it. I've really been curious about. So I'm going to try to make like a 2-parter here, because the surface level question I want to ask is, who the hell wakes up and decides, you know what, I'm going to make a Helldivers movie? Like, not, I was just like a movie. Let's just make a movie. Let's not make like a test. Let's make a movie. Like, who the hell wakes up and decides that? That's the first question. And the second question would be, where like what does motive like what is motivation to you? Because that film, like I remember getting the updates, like the hard drive died, and then like
Hmm.
okay, that's the whole film, and then there's delays and more delays and this, that, and the other thing, so what 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 was the decision to start in the first place, and what was the decision to keep going? Was that motivation? Was that discipline? Where does motivation play a role in in any of your creative decisions? Um, hopefully, I don't know I don't know if I square that into a coherent question, but
No,
hopefully I
I'm
gave you a
tracking you.
couple. Hopefully, I gave you a couple of jumping off points.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, that question actually goes back to the first project that I did in this, and it actually really stems back to when I first saw the Unreal Engine 5 tech demos and I saw it being used in film. I was at a point where, like, in my filmmaking and video career, I was just like, I feel like I'm kind of tapped out. Like, I know I can get better, but I kind of hate the constraints that I constantly fall into. For example, it's like, all right, I want to get this shot at sunrise because that's when, the best lighting is. And so it's like, get everybody out there at sunrise. Nobody wants to be there, but like you're pushing to get the shots that you need. You get them, they look pretty good. You had to cut a couple of corners, but it, was whatever. And then, like I wanted to tell larger stories, and I was, learning visual effects and stuff for a long time because I wanted to do these kinds of things, but I didn't see how it would be realistic without it being in live action. That's when I saw the stuff with Unreal Engine, and it kind of triggered a part of my brain that was like, oh, this is possible. And launching off from that, I eventually got into making the Titanfall New Frontier series, which is very rough, but it is the display of how disillusioned I was by this idea of like, oh, you can do anything now. I'm going to make a 3 hour long series about a video game that I like. So
Yes, yes,
that was the initial craziness because all I saw was the potential in it. And towards the end of that project, was when Helldivers 2 came out, and all my friends were like, "You need to get this game. You need to play it. It's right up your alley." And I was like, "I'll get around to it." They're like, "You're gonna make a film about this one day," and I was like, "Well, we'll see." And when I first started playing the game, when it gets to the point where you're going through the training gauntlet and they have the machine stab you, so you have to use the stim to heal yourself, I was like, yeah, I'm making a movie about this. Like, I just need to find what that is. So for me, like staying motivated in it, I feel like I'm definitely still in like that honeymoon phase of like, I found 3D, I found CGI via Unreal Engine, and I'm still pretty stoked on learning that and building films out that way. Especially because like I'm completing films, which is like if yeah, I don't know how many people watching are in filmmaking or have done it before, but the amount of scrapped projects that I have or projects that came up extremely short, um, becomes very discouraging the longer you're just doing that.
mm,
So to kind of be a high in my life where it's like, oh, I can like finish this, put it out, recognize where I need to grow, and then just start growing in that area next. That's what really keeps me motivated.
I got you. I would be curious how many of those projects ended up making their way into something into like something else that actually I've had a lot of I've had a lot of projects that I had no idea why I was doing it or what it was for. Like for
Hmm.
episode 4, I had done similar kind of space type vibe feel stuff. Um, but those never got any views. Those were never more than just like demos or stuff for me at the end of the day. But then because I had made them like 2 or 3 or 5 years ago, I was able to adapt them into something like what is now being viewed by hundreds of thousands of people. I wonder if that's been a similar experience where you've been like, oh, maybe that's what this was for from like 3 years ago. I can now use this. I can now use this here.
Yeah, I think that would definitely ring true. My mom actually found, she told me recently, she was like, I found a like one of your old DVDs with like home movies. Do you want me to mail it to you? And I said, no, let me come pick that up. That's a relic. I am not trusting the United States Postal Office with it.
Yes.
Like, I want to see that. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I feel like there's probably plenty of that from, especially just like, in high school and leading into my early career, where like I always wanted to make bigger stuff.
Mhm.
I was finding different ways, and it was always like, all right, well, based off of what we have, like we can have a shot where we look at the sky and see a spaceship, but then he gets stranded in the woods because that's all we got. So
Right, right, right.
it's
Exactly.
like, so that was the case. I got a couple of questions here from my chat. Somebody was asking, what animation software do you use, and do you want to switch to another one?
We use the Source 2 Filmmaker. So I've always said the Source Filmmaker, and that's, excuse me for a second. And that's always technically true. To be more specific, we use the Source Filmmaker in the Source 2 engine. It gets a little complicated. That's why I usually just say Source Filmmaker. So that's what we use to render. The animators that we have worked with for previous episodes, they also use the Source Filmmaker. We're open to, I mean, so like, so a lot of animations are not like done in engine. They're usually done in like Maya or something like that. You take a look at something like The Amazing Digital Circus. It's rendered in Unreal Engine, but they animate it in Maya, and then I guess they do some kind of rig transfer. It'd be very similar to how you and I do motion capture. We do motion cap. I think you use Rococo. I use a video motion capture solution. So we do that animation in an external program, and then we bring it over to our renderer of choice. For you, it's the Unreal Engine. For me, it's the Source Filmmaker. Am I open to another one? Yes. But that's with like 800 asterisks. Um, it's like saying that you're going to move to another engine is like, I'm just going to move my office down the hall, or like, I'm just going to move into the house across the street. It's like, well, all my crap is here, man. Like, I got to uproot everything. That's not just something that you can just, like, you can't just switch engines. So we are open to it, and if we were to switch engines, it would be because the crew that we've developed, like for better or worse, Unreal Engine and Blender are the future. I don't know if that's a good thing. It looks like there's good things that are coming from it. I'm secretly hoping that Valve throws their hat into the game developing cinematics ring again, but they might not. And everyone is learning Unreal Engine and Blender because it's cheaper than Maya, and we're reaching a tech singularity where like the results are kind of all the same. Like Eevee on Blender looks like Unreal Engine, looks like the Source Filmmaker. I've had a lot of people be like, "This is Source Filmmaker? I thought it was Unreal." And it's like, nope, gotcha. So yeah, that's what we use. We're open to it, but we probably wouldn't change. We're probably not going to change mid-series. That would just be a bad idea. So we're open, but we're still exploring.
Yeah. No, and I think like obviously I enjoy working in Unreal. That is my platform of choice. But what Sam was saying, I desperately want somebody to come in swinging at Unreal and offer some competition in that area, because it is becoming so pigeonholed to where it's like, yeah, they are leading a lot of it, and Blender is really the only other competition out there that is fulfilling as much as Unreal can enable for a CG filmmaker.
Yeah,
So I
and even
really
that,
want there to be, yeah,
and even that is like even that is like, okay, well, why not use Blender? It's free and open source. Well, because I don't have, I just got like, okay, so for the majority of the series, I was working with a NVIDIA Quadro M4000 from 2015. It wasn't until episode 4 that I upgraded to, I think, a 2060. I bought it for a couple $100 off of eBay. So, like, because I handle the master renders, I can't just switch over to Blender cycles. Like, it's going to melt my PC. We're talking a month for, a second of footage. And then you use Eevee. It's a real-time render engine, but there are problems with it when you do complex animations because a lot of it's screen space. And then you're like, okay, well, it doesn't give much better results than Unreal Engine, and Unreal Engine doesn't look much better than the source filmmaker, and we already know the source filmmaker. So, yeah, like you, I'm anxiously waiting for somebody to come in swinging. But right now, I mean, I've always been tool agnostic because it never matters what tool that you. What's that short that won an Oscar a couple of years? Flow. It was
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it
It's a
was,
feature film. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's a feature. I thought it was a short.
No, it's a feature film.
No way,
It
dude.
won
I
the
thought
Oscars last year.
holy crap, that's even better. I thought it was a short film. That's even better. So it's a feature film. It's an Oscar-winning feature film made in Blender. Like, who cares anymore? Like, just go make something. No one cares what you use anymore, as if they ever did. Like, it matters if you tell a compelling story or if you actually have something worth saying. Your tools do matter. Like, you shouldn't just like, you should have some sort of, anyway. I'm starting on a rant that I get a little passionate about, but so yeah.
No, it's fantastic. I do have two quick questions from the chat, and then we'll get into my film.
Yep.
One of them, I'm actually going to combine these first two. Somebody was asking what sort of liberties you take when working in the lore of Helldivers, and do you ever insert any of your own lore to fill in the gaps? And somebody in that same kind of vein was also asking if there was something lacking from Helldivers 2 lore wise that isn't in the game. What would you want to see put into it?
What would I want to see put into the lore of Helldivers? Now that is a question, isn't it? That is a question. I don't know. The lore is really interesting. I've heard some people complain that it's way too vague and ambiguous, and it's like, that's the point. Because it's a talent. Like, of course the lore is going to be vague and ambiguous. Like, that's the whole point of the overworld and stuff. And it's fine. I mean, people get caught up in the satire and the wit and the humor, and all of that's great. But there's behind the mask of all that. There's behind the mask of the satire and stuff, and that's what I'm really interested in. So, what could they add to that? I don't know. I like that it's kind of vague and ambiguous because it really is kind of supposed to be that way. I'm trying to see if I can flesh that out a little bit more. I don't know what they would add. I do want more explosive stratagems, though. I definitely want that. Sam wants bigger booms. How about that? They can add that to the lore. They can add more explosives.
Perfect. The planetary bombardment on the DSS is coming back.
Yes, dude. Yes. What was the other one? Creative liberties that we took?
Yeah, just like when you're, I suppose the question is asking when you're writing, and even just like creating things, because I know like for myself, and I'm sure you do the same thing, is like you look for or you stare at a frame or an animation for so long that you start like adding little things that are like, oh, like this is an interesting way to reimagine what this is like. For example, in like my film, there's an issue where the terminal screen is freezing over. You can't use it as a touchpad anymore. So he has to pull a panel off and jack into it manually.
Dude, I
with
didn't
the
even
help
notice
that he
that. That's
has.
genius. Okay, that's why he did that. That's genius. I didn't even notice that. Okay, that's genius.
But to that point, that's something that obviously it doesn't exist in the game. The terminal is a box you walk up to as a
Right.
player, and it has to glow to a certain extent so you know where it is.
Right.
So I suppose, is there anything like that you're looking to add into your films, and is there a specific example from either episode 4 or one of the previous episodes?
Yeah, the one that jumps out would be episode 4, where we added the low gravity planets. That's more from a kind of fun point, from like a fun and game standpoint. One of the comments that we got, not frequently but enough, and I read all the comments for better or worse. But one of them was, there's too much talking. There's not enough shooting. There's not enough action. And there's part of me that's like, just shut, like, there's the other part that's like, all right, look, it is Helldivers. Like, it's a fair enough. And so, um, that is one of the that was actually why we added those. That was one of the reasons why we added the action sequences. But then you look at ways that okay, well, like, well, we killed bots in episode 3. Can we do something? Can we shake it up a little bit? Yeah, we can. Well, I like the moon planets I like playing on them. Well, what if we did like low gravity, low atmosphere? Dude, okay, now we're cooking. So it's stuff like that. Other creative liberties would be looking at, we already talked about this, but like looking at some of the side objectives and be like, okay, what are plausible, logical conclusions that we can derive from this? So a lot of what I do when I try to think through writing an episode or a character or an event is, is this allowed, or can I bend the rules enough to where it doesn't break? Because you can't, if you're doing fan stuff, you can't break rules. I mean, you can, but like, you're probably going to get killed for it. But you can bend them and you can kind of twist them. So if you can find plausible, logical conclusions, but in order to do that, you have to understand what the rules of the game are. You have to understand totalitarian. This is a totalitarian thing that's covered up by satire and wit and humor. So it allows for satire and wit and humor, but there's also some darker side of this, and you can. So, yeah, a lot of what we look for is plausible, logical conclusions. Okay, so the escape pod is not canon. Yeah, but is it possible? Does it break any rules? No? Great. Ship it. And then it comes off as like new and original. It's like, okay, cool. So we're just kind of dancing and playing and skirting around the rules of the universe, and that helps us figure out how we can take creative liberties. I'm trying to think if there was a way that we did that the opposite of like a hard stop. One of those was actually that one of those was like adding the capes, because adding the capes was a bit of a chore for us. And initially I was like, who cares? We're not going to add the capes. And actually my sound designer, who has never played the game and doesn't care for the game, was like, add the capes. It's an aesthetic decision. It looks cool. It's going to be hard, but add the capes. And then, of course, I'm studying the lore, and it's like, we can't make a Helldivers film if we don't have capes. So, all right, let me spend a week and figure this out. And
Yeah, that'd be sacrilege. Something I want to touch on that you had mentioned earlier about the comment that was saying there's too much talking, there's too much dialogue. This is Helldivers, whatever. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was working on my Titanfall series, like I always like want to have decent action because I like action scenes in movies and stuff. And I think there's really cool ways you can integrate them in the story. But at the end of the day, I knew for a fact, with the limitations of my animation skills at that point, and even still today, if I tried to go back and do like another Titanfall based thing, I could never make an action scene that made you feel the same way that the game makes you feel.
Yes.
When you're holding the gun and you're doing the thing. Like, it is very hard to reach towards that, and it's something we took a huge step towards in for Liberty. Mm-hmm. But even still, it's like, why would I spend time exploring something that the player can switch on the game and get immediately, when there are other parts of the lore that you can start to dive into that the game can't explore, because the game can't explore what the dialogue and stuff looks like.
Exactly.
Outside of a couple of very brief interactions. So.
Exactly. Yeah, and it can't explore. I mean, like, it can't, but like, it can't explore stuff like what you did with like the screen freezing over. It's like, okay, well, they could make that mechanic. It's like, yeah, well, okay, like whatever, but like, there's that's what's fun about the cinematic side of things, is that there's things that are easy for us to do cinematically that are just like really difficult to implement from a gameplay perspective. I share the same. I 100% agree with you. My take on action was like, there's no way I'm going to replicate a level 10 mission difficulty. Like, that's, I can't do it. I could do it, but like, I mean, that's going to be like one episode, and it's going to take like a year and a half to make. Like there's just no shot that we can do it. So we choose to focus on our strengths, and my strengths is character, is dialogue, is tension and drama. And some people don't like that, and gosh darn, that breaks my heart. You know, sometimes not really, but you got to play with your strengths, and you got to play in your strengths and let your weaknesses go to the side. And if you play in your strengths enough, people will notice that, and they will they'll stick around for it, as you are an example of. I think For Liberty walked the line of what Helldivers is the best that anyone has done, including me. I don't think I walked that line very well at all, but I think that For Liberty like nailed what Helldivers is to a T. It nailed the fun, it nailed the goof, it nailed the comedy and the wit and the satire, it nailed the darker side of things. It was really well done. Like it was a perfect love letter to the game. And hats off to you and the crew. Well done.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. Well, that feels like a perfect segue for me to just hit play and move on into our episode 1.
Let's do it.
If at any point, just holler at me to pause. If there's little things that like I think of that I can speak to, I will. But otherwise,
Sure.
I'll kind of let you carry the conversation for this one.
Sure.
Sweet, sweet. All right, we'll get right into it.
Okay. Did you guys have any other like? So okay, the war bonds have been a pain in my side as to try to figure out how to incorporate them narratively. To the point where I kind of just don't. Because a lot of them are like pop culture references that half the time I don't even understand. So anyway, I could talk about that. But were there any other ideas that you guys had with the Masters of Ceremony, or was it pretty clear cut? Like, no, they're going to do a funeral. Were there any other ideas that you guys had?
There was, I think for me is like, it was always because I wrote this episode, and to me it was always that they were going to be used either in a funeral or in a parade. That was going to be like one of the two, and we ended up, leaning into the funeral side of it. I think my biggest worry the entire until the film released and I started to see feedback, and I haven't seen this comment once, so it proves that that was just like my insecurity and like that what are people going to think about this. uh my fear was that it was going to, because you don't see them in action at all, the sword isn't pulled out at all, that it was going to be like people being like, this is dumb, that's not how I play with that armor. It's like,
Right.
but it's obviously not been the case, and I feel like it's given we do a lot of deep diving on like what is in the lore of the war bonds. Shout out to Wasp Optic. He does a lot of digging and going back, and we'll go into like anytime we get stumped on something, we'll just start looking up like, okay, historically what would have Sweden done, and then it's like, oh, okay, this is like
Oh,
some
really?
interesting tidbits to pull from. Oh yeah, yeah. So like even the because I believe the armor for the parade commander is the RE 1861 or something like that, and we were like, what was going on in Sweden in 1861? And so like,
Wow.
there's a little bit of that like we're trying to dive into and see like how does that play in. There was a reason, and I can't quite remember. Wasp would have to give me the refresher, but even our version of a 21 gun salute, because it's obviously not a 21 gun salute, but like the specific number of it has something to do with Sweden's history that he had dug up. So that's like all little details that we're looking for to then also kind of almost backwards incorporate into the war bond based off of the lore that Arrowhead's put out there around it.
That's really cool. That's something that had escaped. I mean, obviously, I know the game makers are in Sweden and all that stuff, but
It's gonna rust.
I don't know about you. And actually, if you want to pause real quick, because I am curious about this.
Yeah.
I get a lot of comments like insisting that this is like The game is obviously just like it's just one massive critique on America. This game is just completely America. And then I look at, like, for me, I'm like, have you like looked at the actual flag? Like, it's the continent of Europe and Sweden's in the middle. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's called Super Earth. It's a critique on the whole thing. So but I guess that had kind of gotten lost. Like, I wouldn't have. That was a bit of a brain blast for me of like, yeah, they probably would hide, like, not hide, but they probably would attach like um, elements of their country's history. I wouldn't have even thought to have researched that. So I think that's super cool that y'all did that.
Oh, just wait. I'll drop the Swedish nuggets as we approach them in the
Okay,
film.
okay, all right, let's
So,
go.
but to your point, no, I think anybody who is commenting that way clearly has never played the Helldivers the superior way, and that's in Japanese. But like, like whatever country you're playing Helldivers in, you're playing it in that language, and it's a different experience for you.
Right.
If you speak English, then you're having like I suppose the Americanized version of it, and you're seeing this like very
Mm-hmm.
like post-capitalist society.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like at the end of the day, it is about humanity, and there's all different kinds of people that are a part of that. And I think it's like, there's a whole bunch of stuff like, I get the comments all the time like, well, they're just clones, so blah blah blah. And it's like,
Oh
no,
my
like
god.
the tragedy of Helldivers is that these are all real people,
Yes.
but like humanity has just expanded so much that we've populated multiple planets in the galaxy, and we're all subscribed to the same ideology in this world.
Hmm. Um, so on ideologies, actually, this was a good place to pause because I wasn't quite sure what they were. I was curious what you were. What's the line they say here in a minute? The fields of prosperity. What is that? Is that because I googled that. I was curious because they say fields of prosperity and then old world religion. So it's like, is that a reference? Like, is that a reference to like an old world religion in like you and I's timeline, or what is that? What are they talking about in this scene here?
Yeah, so it's loosely derived from the Servants of Freedom war bond, and we were basically kind of tried to go back and converge of like, okay, where like the Servants of Freedom war bond is the only real point we have to a religion that isn't like super Earth specific, because I would say that like managed democracy is the religion of humanity in the
Yes,
future.
100%.
So the only alternative to that is mentioned in the Servants of Freedom war bond, with like Lady Liberty kind of being like the beacon of that. And then we just tried to see like, is there a point of convergence where you can take like Greek or North mythology, and where does it start to blend and cross over with what would be the modern society in Helldivers. And that's something that like I've always had a fascination in exploring. I did the same thing in my Titanfall series, where it's just like they're talking about stuff from like uh different religions. That one very specifically was like around Christianity, but it's like if we're occupying space and we're out blasted everywhere, uh and like let's say that, I think the Western Bible is so misconstrued from like the original text that it's like if that continued, nobody would like really know or like have a clear
I see.
like, oh, that's exactly what this was about or whatever. They would start to like pick and choose and like branch off, and like, people just continue to spread
Gotcha.
about. And so we were looking for where was that convergence point with like specifically what a Helldiver's potentially illegal idea of what heaven would be, being the fields of prosperity in this case, or some sort of afterlife.
Mm.
Um, because like obviously you can't subscribe to the idea that you're gonna die. So
Right, right. Okay, cool. That's very cool.
Think he was right, Dawkins?
and huge shout out to Danny Langdon. She modeled the little figurine statue, and it's there are very few references to Lady Liberty in the game. There's a couple of graphic things, and in one of the like splash arts of the game, you can see like the face of the statue,
Okay.
but she did an incredible job of modeling something that feels faithful to Helldivers while still kind of having a crucifix-esque shape to it.
That looks great. Very well modeled. Texture looks good.
He always talked about
Okay, I gotta ask: is there anything with?
greater.
Is there any reason like is there anything about like him keep messing with the cape and Paul telling him to knock it off? Is there anything to that, or am I just or am I tweaking?
Only now, only that later on, his assumed dead spouse is presented with a new cape that he would have gotten as like a Medal of Honor for like dying in
Okay,
the
okay,
line of duty.
gotcha.
So it's a little bit of it's a little bit of a touch on that. He's also I wish this was something that I showcased more or gave more attention to, but he's also the only one of the group that has a standard issue cape, kind of nodding to the fact that, if he had more service or more tenure with the group, he would probably have a different cape by now. So it's a little bit of a nod that he's newer to the group. And there are a
Gotcha.
lot of things. I don't know if this happens to you when you're writing, but it's like, oh, I have these ideas and these things that I want in the film, and then like you get to the end of production, and it's like I kind of missed the mark on communicating that.
Yeah,
Like now, I see the
yeah.
whole thing, like all those big ideas that I had. What is coming here isn't quite what I envisioned originally. It's still
Hmm.
super close, and there are so many ideas that are touched on. But I think that being one of them, where it's like, there was a little bit of where you kind of missed the fact that his cape is indicative of him being newer.
Gotcha.
Purpose about Lady Liberty. The greatest purpose you can have is serving Super Earth. That's what he did, and it's all you should be thinking about in that rattled brain of yours. I told you that.
I will say, I thought it was going to be incredibly easy to just like have them laying down in the snow den.
Hmm.
I was like, that won't be too hard until I started actually doing it. I was like, I
Yeah,
have never making a character lie down for this long ever again, let alone two of them.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And that's coming from somebody that uses a suit. Imagine trying to do that with like video. That's impossible.
What about the new guy? See,
There were a
never
couple of comments that were
transfers
kind of
the
annoyed by
captain's.
his stutter. I found it convincing. I actually thought the voice
What
actor did a good job.
The voice actor has a real stutter, so all
That
those
okay.
comments are
I think that
stupid.
I seem to remember that cropping up in your Discord as well. I was like, well, it's very convincing. So he either did a fantastic job or he has one, and he didn't let it stop him from giving a great performance. So I didn't have a problem with it at all. I think they did great.
No, he did an incredible job, and yeah, it's to me, it's like I know you had mentioned this in I think your like recap of episode 3, where you had some people commenting on like the accents
Yeah, yeah.
there, and it's like I see it like very similarly. It's like,
Mhm.
you can't have everybody, just be, they're not all Brad Pitt, they're not all Tom Cruise or
Right,
whatever.
right.
It's they're real people, and the more you can characterize them, whether it's through an accent or like a speech impediment or whatnot, that always goes so much further into showcasing like, oh, these are real people, underneath.
Hmm. Yeah.
um I think it's the way to go.
There's a reason he's here instead of Hawkins. Only reason he's here is to get a cosign on his CO1.
She's also your shipmaster.
Which reminds me, she asked me this morning to tell you to bring back more samples. You think you could do that, Paul? And don't wheel in a bunch of that low-effort common bullshit.
Yeah.
I won't hear the end of it, Paul. Come on. And as for you, kid, the Tundra's taught me that you can believe in whatever the hell you want.
A bullet to the face is still a bullet to the face. Only reason I'm here is because...
So you asked me this question a while ago. I want to turn it back to you. What is your writing process?
Okay.
And how many, like, so for me it's me. I'm my own writing team. Do you write?
Mhm.
Do you have a team of writers? And what is y'all's writing process? Can you talk about that for a bit?
Yeah, so Heroes of the Galactic War is like, for the first time, I'm starting to branch away from doing like all the writing. So, for example, episode 2 has a completely different writer. He's someone who's been involved on the team before, but it's like a very different voice. This one, I felt very strongly about the story, and for the most part, with my writing for each of the films that I've put out, they've been me sitting down, developing the story, and getting through like a really strong draft end to end, which like I go through it a few times, and that's kind of what I would consider to be my draft 1, even though it's probably closer to like draft 3 or 4. Um, but when it gets to a place where I feel more comfortable sharing it, that's where I'll bring in specifically for most of my projects. It's my buddy Luke Ryan. He's a writer. He also served as an Army Ranger, so he brings a lot of like he'll like point out like, well, they wouldn't do this, or like, if you're gonna do this, then like have them do it this way, or whatnot.
Okay, gotcha.
Like for example, there was a bit in here where like in the original script, because of the rule of cool, I was like, oh, and they have their flashlights on when they like first start walking out into the snow, and he was like, you wouldn't do that, you'd blind yourself. And I was like, but yeah, so it's so he'll come in and help give feedback and notes, and do things for accuracy to get it into a draft 2 state. And now with Heroes of the Galactic War specifically, we've just been bringing more people into that process, and are starting to delineate it out a little bit to where I can still have input and make sure it's consistent with what the series needs to be. But I want to get more voices involved in what that is, because I think across the board with production, and this is where I believe everybody who's worried about AI, there are legitimate causes and reasons to be worried about AI. Don't get me wrong there.
Sure.
But AI will not collaborate with you. It's a one-way street of just your ideas, and it won't correct you on those either.
No,
I
no, it
think
won't.
I think the true value comes from being able to collaborate, bounce ideas off of each other, whether that's in writing, in 3D modeling, in animation, whatever it is. Every step of the way, the collaboration is what makes it feel like a larger voice than your own. And if you're the only voice in something, that is going to come across, and in a rare circumstance, you get somebody who can really pull it off, like a Quentin Tarantino, which no matter what team he works with, you can always tell when it's one of his films. But I think for the most part, with the vast majority, I would say 99% of all productions are stronger with that collaboration under a unified vision. So that's a little bit of an insight into my writing process.
Yeah, very cool. I 100% agree, 110% agree with having with that aspect of collaboration. There are still some older projects that I have up on my channel from days and years gone by, and those are all me at my best. And if you judge it by that standard, then they are what they are. But if you compare them with the projects that I've been working on now, where I have a team, even a small team, but a team nonetheless, and the level that they're all elevated. Episode 2 is the most popular episode that we have for a reason. It's because of John Winfield, the voice actor for the captain, just like absolutely nailing that speech. I don't even think he's played Helldivers, but he absolutely nails it. So the collaborative aspect, that's one of the things I've admired about you, and one of the reasons I really started paying attention to your project For Liberty was like, he's actually getting a team together and he's actually making a damn movie. Like this isn't and then he did it. He pulled it off. You have this ability to be able to gather a team of people around you and to pull something off monumental that quite literally ended up breaking the internet. I remember telling you that in private, but then it actually broke the internet. I was like, holy crap, I didn't mean it. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
That collaborative aspect. I don't know about you. That's been addictive for me.
Oh no, 100%. That's like I've always said, and I probably always will say. I think some of the secret sauce behind me getting this stuff done is the fact that I don't go into it with the expectation of somebody else is going to do it for me. Like I have to look at it as something of, is this something that I could tackle on my own if I had to?
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody who comes on is just making it that much better. And now that I've had this experience multiple times over in creating these kinds of films, it has quite literally become addictive to the point where it's like, yeah, like I don't mind staying up and working on this because like I'm just addicted to the fuel of like, okay, when I get it to this point, then so and so's gonna step in and they're gonna do this and it's gonna like be so much better and
Yep.
all that. Yeah, no, I love those bits of the process.
That's awesome.
Chit chat's over, lovebirds.
Train's entering the station, and we're T-minus 27 seconds.
Okay, so you already beat my episode because you had the double scope effect. I did not have the double scope effect. I had the single scope effect. How did you do that? Did you do that in engine or is that in post? How did you do that?
No, that's literally I rendered out one shot at like 12 millimeters and then another shot at 200 millimeters and then just composited the two together.
God,
in DaVinci
smart
Resolve.
enough to think of that. I was not smart enough to think of that.
that's all that is. I think
of course
in the 12 millimeter shot.
And it looks great.
I think in the 12 millimeter shot is where the AMR is. So like the camera is actually mounted on the AMR, and then I just composited in the 200 millimeter shot inside the lens of that.
I did do that. I did attach my camera to the actual model of the AMR and tried to replicate because you can see in game there's kind of like the drag of the scope when you move it. I tried to replicate that a little bit to make up for the fact that it was just a single zoom shot because apparently I wasn't smart enough to think of something as genius as that. But that was a great.
It still looked good.
Discount because I'm already frostbitten and the cold front isn't even here yet. Gent to SCS, Dawn of Liberty, requesting fire on my mark in 4, 3.
I do love this shot from a cinematography standpoint. Just the slow 180 turn.
Mm-hmm. It's a long shot too. I love my long shots. I have discovered that I'm like the worst person to work for when it comes to like animation because I will just hand people 30 to 45 second shots. And they'll be like, are you serious? I'm like, it's going to look so cool. Just do it. It'll be great. Also, a nod to what we all wish we could do in game, which would just be like look at something off in the distance and be like, SES, make that thing go away.
Blow that up.
Blow that up. This thing over there, Robert, this outpost is pissing me off.
7.
That's a great
I will
shot.
say,
That's a great shot. The Eclipse is a great shot.
Yeah, and I've filmed a couple of eclipses, and like this definitely fulfilled my like I can finally like nail it. But the device of using the eclipse is something that I wish people talked about more about in the game. I feel like you don't see it as much in game anymore.
Yeah, not as much.
Um, but it's something that from a storytelling cinematography standpoint, I really just liked the idea of being able to take the whole scene, sunset it for a little bit, go into complete darkness for the action, and then come back out the other side at golden hour. I was like, that this is what I love about making stuff in CG because that's impossible to do. The shoot on set, you can't shoot this for real, obviously. Like
Right.
you would CG it anyways if you're making a live action film.
Right.
But just having that level of control for shots like this or a scenario like this is what I love about doing things in this regard.
That is one thing I did want to ask about was what were were there any are there any like real world film techniques? Because I seem to recall that that you're more that you have like industry experience with like real world cameras and post and all that stuff. Um, so are there like are there real filmmaking techniques that you've been able to implement into CG?
Oh, 100%. I
Like you
think
find
that's
those are
like
kind of
the
like those kind of oh, I had words and stuff. You know what I'm talking about. But anyway, go ahead.
no 100%. No, so I feel like that's the one edge I've had in all of this because I only got into doing 3D at all back in 2021. And so this is like has just been an application of the knowledge that I do have and how I would do things on set or scenarios I wish I would have had to film something in. This shot, for example, is like the lights are already off as far as what this entire scene is, and then it's just taking like one light and just closing it like over time
Yep.
to get the effect of it closing. It's not like I'm using the actual sun to get this shot specifically.
Right.
So there are definitely things that I'm thinking about and pulling from in my real world experience, but now being able to do it in CG and either have more control over it or think about it in a way of like, okay, if I was going to shoot this, where would I be or how would it feel? Um, trying to cover this specific scenario or whatnot. So there's definitely a bit of that goes into it. Something I'm always thinking about because you can just make the camera float anywhere that you want. I'm always thinking about if I was holding the camera, where would I be standing or how would I move? Like, if I'm going to do this kind of shot, then I also have to think about like, okay, is that like a steady cam that I'm handing off or, whatnot?
Mm-hmm.
I'm always trying to think about it in those ways. And it's why I don't do like crazy shots of like oh like I'll go through and around his finger while it's on the trigger and come out
Right.
the other side where
Right.
it's like
Right.
I could do that shot if I really wanted to,
Yep.
but I just like approaching it in a more grounded way of how I would film it in real life because that's kind of the high I've been chasing in my filmmaking career, and it's not been until now that I've been able to actually fulfill a lot of that.
I got you. That makes a lot of sense. That is my favorite shot, by the way. The one that we were just paused on. That is my favorite shot. I love that
Yeah,
shot. Looks great.
thank you.
I was thinking about this too earlier. Like this is a rather unique style, but it also like this does look like the game. It fits in the game. I can't call it backlit though, but like you're using the silhouettes.
Hmm.
It's a really unique feel, but it's also familiar. It's what you would see in the game. Especially in
Yeah,
a lot of
it's
the environment stuff, a lot of whenever a snowstorm or a sandstorm hits or whatever, it's like silhouette time, like it's time to find an outline and just mag dump it.
Yeah. No, and this is all very heavily inspired by The Gray as far as some of the scenes in that.
I don't think I've seen that.
Um, That's the one where Liam Neeson is in a plane crash, and it's basically like humanity versus a pack of wolves, and the wolves are like kind of surrounding these survivors and picking them off one by one. It's
That
a
sounds
great
awesome.
film.
How have I not seen that? That sounds awesome.
Oh, if you love your long shots, you will love The Gray.
Love my long shots. The Gray. I'm writing it down.
it's it's such a good like nature is brutal, but like man, take a look at how pretty it is while this guy bleeds out in the small corner of frame, you know. So that's what this is heavily inspired by.
Very cool.
What's happening?
Bot triggered a distress signal.
And there would be another of your creative liberties there. Not something that happens in game, but something like it's totally possible that the bots would do something like that.
Yeah. Now, and that's, again, it's like in this kind of scenario when I'm writing is I'm trying to think of like how do you push things forward without like having it be predictable? And so I kind of liked the idea of like if in the game it's like when a bot's dead, it's already dead.
Right.
You just walk on past it or whatever. It's like in this case scenario, it very well could be dead, but it is also just a computer. So it's like if you picked it up and it was built to send out some sort of distress signal or something, or there's a loose wire connection in it
Right.
that just like caused it to go haywire. It's like that's something that could happen that wouldn't necessarily be in game. Another thing I'll point out, if we want to get into the Swedish lore, the swear words that they're using here when he says, I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation, but Javlar is basically Sweden's version of fuck or devil. So that's
Okay.
it was
I
one of
was
those things
curious about
where
that,
yeah, when we were writing, I was like writing it in, and I was like, this isn't working in Helldivers. Like, why does it sound off? And as soon as I started like looking it up in Swedish and trying to like doing a little bit of a deep dive on like the origin of their curse words, I was like, this. I don't know what it is about Helldivers in Sweden, but it feels like it fits even more. So that's the reason it was written that way.
That's interesting. That's cool. That like profanity and language and stuff. Like on a personal level, I don't have a problem with that. But in terms of writing that in for Helldivers, that is something I have been thinking about. In episode 1 and 3, we didn't really care about any of that, and at the time, like this whole my whole series has been one massive experiment. So I've been slowly trying to refine things. That's one thing that I have been trying to lean a little bit more back into is less of the profanity and more of the Super Earth style of speak. But that's a rather interesting and unique way that you address that. That's very cool.
Yeah, when in doubt, look up Sweden. What are the Swedes up to? Okay, so something I do want to address. I get some comments on this, and it's again one of those things that originally in the script I have written better, but didn't come across well enough here, and it probably could have been easily. It probably, like, hindsight's 2020. I could have done a POV shot that did it better, but essentially the idea being the fire from all sides, the blizzard, like the bots are also having just as difficult of a time, like trying to navigate the terrain and figure out where they are and target them.
Gotcha. Okay.
As much as they're having issues. So that was the idea when writing, but I didn't do as good of a job translating it in the final product.
I 100%
Luke.
relate to that. Every film is better in the script than when it comes out. I'm a genius on paper, but
Also,
in reality, we're still working on that.
I do wanna point out, because of the amount of comments I also see about this. I'll give it 1 second. All right. So he has a stim here.
Yep.
That is something that does occur in the film,
Yep.
but the stims are not going to fix a mushy foot. Your mushy foot is still mushy until you can go back and get it in a cast. So
Yes.
it's a painkiller, more or less. But I get
Yeah.
plenty of that, like, why didn't they call in supplies or why didn't they stim? And it's like, well, when you're bleeding internally or your foot is, gone,
Yeah. Exactly.
it's not
Yeah.
gonna, the magic juice isn't gonna fix that, which I do think is like kind of the funny part of the stims in Helldivers, where it's like they're kind of showcased as like this magic pill, and obviously for the purposes of the game,
Mm.
they have to give you a way to like, hey, you can't run anymore, so stimming helps you.
Right.
Um, but like in reality, it is probably just they're just hyping them up on whatever painkillers they can to get them through a combat scenario,
Yeah.
and hopefully to safety on the other side of it.
Yeah. In the gameplay, you have to treat it as a magical health kit. But if you even want to go like buy the game, well, like buy the game, like it's a like that's methamphetamine. it's it's just a pain ignorer. Like
Yep.
that's all it is. It's called a stimulant. So yeah, I watched I saw a couple of those comments too of like just use a stim. It's like it's a stim. It's not a it's it it's not gonna work. So I'm 100% behind you on I'm 100% behind you on like yeah it's just a stim. It's not it and certainly we're not at that shot yet. But here in a minute where people were upset where what's her name Gent where she passes. We'll just use the stims. Like, it's not. Come on, guys. Really? This is what we're doing. So yeah, 100%
Yeah. No.
behind. 100% behind you on that decision.
Apparently, I just needed the Helldivers meme where she's on the ship, but she has like four stems sticking out of her neck, and she still dies.
I've thought about doing
Okay.
like versions of I've thought about doing like versions of episodes where like we just take the viewers' comments and then we just make that and then it just ends up being like super lame.
We can AI generate it.
Yes,
Um,
dude. Yes.
so another Swedish lore moment here, and this is where I really need to go in and do the official subtitles for this. So the word he says here, because this was an example of where in the original script, um, the guy said he just said drag me, and then Luke read it and he was like, in a military scenario, like he'd be yelling something like top plate instead because that's communicating it a lot faster and that's the kind of vernacular they would use.
Mm-hmm.
And then like in the writing of the next draft of the script, I was like, him like yelling top plate, like there's something about it that isn't fitting here.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it just kind of goes back to it's like how much from like what would be current day and age, um, of our real life experience versus what it's like 100 years in the future, and in the kind of future that Helldivers is like.
Mm-hmm.
How do those things change, or how would you approach it? So going again to Sweden, I found a dictionary online of like Swedish. It was like I can't remember if it was a survival guide or what, but it was basically like military Swedish terms.
Mm-hmm.
And the word he says here, again, I'm probably going to butcher it, but he says trostrang, which is a baggage boy in the military in the 1800s. And so the
Huh.
idea being that he's the baggage, and he's the guy in the white wolf armor with the stutter. He's the baggage boy, and he needs to drag him because that's
Gotcha.
what they were called back then in the Swedish military.
Gotcha. Okay. That's fun. That's pretty cool. I don't know if dragging your teammates is a mechanic I want in the game or not. It's a little Battlefield 6 for me. I'm not sure. But definitely like passing weapons or whatever. I mean, that's cool.
I felt so bad for one of the animator who did this shot specifically. I recorded the motion capture for him, and shout out to Ludwig. He he took the motion capture and he was trying to work with it, but there was something on his computer where the model combined with the plasma rifle like kept crashing Unreal for him, and he was like, I don't know what it is about it, but when I take the mocap file off, uh, it's fine. And so he ended up reanimating the entire shot by hand instead.
No way.
So there's no, this was originally going to be motion capture, and then he just like he looked at the motion capture as a reference and reanimated it by
There you
hand.
go. What a champ. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known. It looked
Shout out
it
to
looked great. Yeah, it looked great.
shout out to our other animator, Bowden. He did this dragging a teddy bear across his apartment. So that's where this motion comes from.
That's fun. Yeah, motion capture is something else. Like there are times where I think about like releasing like some of the like raw footage from like my camera, and I'm like, I don't know, like it's so awkward looking. Like you're just standing there, like in your room, pointing an airsoft gun at the wall, and you're just it's the mental game of like it's gonna look good in post. It's gonna look good in post. And then it
But
does.
I see this as the character. It'll look good, I promise.
Exactly. And then you light it and everything, and you're like, whoa, that was me looking like an idiot for an hour. That's crazy.
I did
That was a
I did
fun
fully
shot, by the way,
composite.
with the nuke like dispersing the storm and the clouds and stuff. That's fun. Again, something that we wish we could see in game, but like for technical reasons, probably like a massive pain for them to be able to pull off. But cinematically, like that's what it would look like. It looks great. Like well done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I think that's I wanted to do even more with the shockwave. I just didn't have time. But then even like when I was compositing this shot specifically, there is an entire nuke composited into the shot back there, but it didn't hold the power that like the shot needed to have. And so I like in like probably the last 10 or 15 minutes of compositing that shot, I was like, nope, I need to just push the exposure even further and just have it complete, because that's what it would,
Yeah.
realistically look like, especially at this exposure.
It works, man. It works.
As is customary with the Federation's embrace, please stand and salute for the Super Earth national anthem.
Putting the metahumans to good use. Those look great.
Must reign over every last star.
Thank you. I'm so happy that we have eliminated the floating head syndrome. That's something that has plagued my films for years. But it's finally gone, which is great. Also, huge shout out to Duncan Bruce. He voices the Admiral here. He does a fantastic job, and I remember when we were doing the casting for this episode, his audition had come in, and it was in like our top selections. And when I heard it, I was like, this sounds like this brings me back to somebody, some random dude who read the entire Lord of the Rings or the entire Chronicles of Narnia and recorded the audio tape version of that and played it back. I was like, this guy needs, like, he's the only guy in my mind that can carry the end of this film. So he did a wonderful job, kind of voicing this character, but then also just like, carrying the rest of the film across the finish line, because it's a decent chunk, where it's taking something like the Super Earth National Anthem and not singing it, and doing it in a way that feels convincing, but also has like the weight and the gravity that the film kind of demands in this moment.
Yep.
Killed in our righteous wars. Honor their deaths, do your parts for the cause. Steadfast support of our regime is how humankind reigns supreme.
I remember watching this back for I forget how many times, and it was the last time I watched it back. I was like, this like it feels like a proper show. Like it feels like something that I would see on TV. It feels like it feels like it's a proper production. It feels like something that I would flip on, that I would find on Netflix. If it has the structure and the organization there, it feels professionally made. It feels put together.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's great praise.
Democracy is the true path.
That's what we're aiming for.
It shall suffer our wrath. White, yellow, blue, flying on all the worlds. Justice and hope.
Another shout out to Danny. She did a great job with the coffins too.
They look great.
Galaxy-wide, paved with the skulls of those who've died.
It's another good shot. Very well lit. I like it.
Unslackable tide of super Earth pride, a torrent that can't be satisfied. We sacrifice for paradise. Anything less will not suffice. Citizens rise, liberty rise, super Earth rise up to the skies. Stay free for liberty, for democracy, for super Earth.
Symbolism with the sun crossing over his face again.
And that is episode 1, man. That's awesome.
That's episode 1. Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm super happy with how this one turned out. I had like kind of established a rule for myself, that I was like, I wasn't going to crunch the episodes, but then when the event happened with Arrowhead and they were asking if I was able to make it out there, I was like, it'd be kind of cool to release something on the same day.
It would. Yeah.
So
That's
I'm
awesome.
I'm really happy with the quality that it still turned out as, and it also like, I feel like for me this episode was great proving ground of everything that by the end of For Liberty I was like, if I could go back and redo everything, this is like in my head how I would do it. So seeing that actually executed, in a complete film in just 7 weeks, I was like, that's like that is, it's plausible because we actually did it.
Yep.
And so that's something that, I probably won't crunch as much on future episodes, but knowing that it is a possibility, or that it's out there is definitely cool to see.
Yeah, very very cool proving ground. I do have a few more questions. I hate to interrupt this. I mean, we're like right in the middle of it. I do have a housekeeping thing that I have to take care of right quick. So I hate to do it, but I will be right back. And
Oh no, not a problem. I'll answer some questions from my chat real quick.
Yep,
while you
that'd
take
be
care
great.
of that.
I'll be right back.
Cool. Hey guys, how's it going? From Wasp, had MetaHuman not worked, taken too long to figure out, would you have just stuck with helmeting all the characters? So it's funny because metahumans were like one of the big draws for me with Unreal Engine, because they were like in super super duper early, and so that was like when I saw the early betas of them, I was like, holy crap, you can do this. That'd be so crazy. And you can have a character that looks like that and get it for free. Let's go. And so that was always a draw for me to get into this in the first place. But as time went on and just like, there were never any good tutorials online, and everybody told you different ways to do things. And ultimately, what I did with a lot of characters and pretty much all the characters in my past films, it's basically like cutting off the head, like right here, and then just like attaching that to the head bone. But it doesn't look right because like the way your neck deforms and everything, like that all plays into the character of how your head feels spatially. Uh, and yeah, that was all part of this going into the start of this series was like, how do we solve that? Because that's like an issue that can't persist anymore. And so we solved it. But otherwise, it would be helmeted characters. And there's going to be a lot more helmeted characters through the rest of the series because I feel like now we have it figured out. We are working in a full metahuman pipeline. Doesn't mean we're like not going to, you know, leverage it in the future. But it's like it's something that we figured out. Now I want to start figuring out some other stuff. When are you gonna sleep, bro? Says Mrs. Coalition. Soon, soon, soon. Well, episode 2. Sorry, I've been holding in that cough. Well, episode 2 going to bring the tone of urban warfare, street level crime, chaos vibes. Episode 2 is basically a 1980s cops film on drugs. So, busting drugs on drugs is episode 2. Oh, hey, Sam's back.
I came at just the right time. That's not that. That was a fantastic start for episode 2.
There it is. All right. I want to make sure before we wrap things up. I know you had mentioned you had some questions. Let's go ahead and tackle some of those, shall we?
Yeah. So what is the series going to be like moving forward? Like you're going to be taking a look at the war bonds, and I am curious how you're going to be implementing those in terms of your narratives. Like, what are you guys looking at? How are you guys deciding how to construct narratives around those? How are you deciding how to combine them? But what is the overall goal or objective of the series? What are you trying to communicate? What are you hoping that people are going to get once the series is all said and done and you've got all 8 episodes out?
Yeah. So, as far as the broader overview of what it's going to be like, I definitely want it to be a true anthology in the sense that like every episode is a different flavor, but like it's all part of the same meal, you know? So it's like, this is like the episode 1 was like definitely more, if you were to equate it to like, dining, it definitely leads into like the more bitter tones of it.
Sure.
And some of the harsher realities. But then like, episode 2 is like, oh, but then they rolled out, something sweet or a little palate cleanser. And then like we're gonna roll into like another episode that is more about like, the more indomitable human spirit side of things and stuff like that. So each episode is going to be a little bit different in the way that it is delivered, but it's all coming from this place of taking the war bonds and parts of the world of Helldivers that you don't get to see, and really amplifying that or giving it a stage. So, in this case, it was about following a squad and in the war bond sense, because this was like another thing where it's like the war bonds are so unique as far as the armor sets and stuff goes that like if you call in reinforcements, it has to be a B01 tactical standard issue Helldiver, but then when it's a B01, tactical standard issue Helldiver, it's got to be the Helldivers that were in for Liberty. Aside, like you had the ones that got wore down over the course of the story and became less like that. But when they first dropped down, I feel like to be true to what Helldivers is, that's what those kinds of divers have to be. In case in point to your episode 4, it's like that's very much so what the cadet is. He's still like he got out of the hell pod fueled on the propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
And so diving into each of these war bonds, I feel like there's a little bit more liberties to dive into, like how does this squad function, or I always think from the perspective of when my mom watches this, she's going to be like, well, why are they dressed differently than these guys or whatever.
Sure, sure.
And it's like, keeping that in mind for something like this, it's like, this is the Polar Patriots specifically are supposed to be a specialized unit, who aren't in the here's your 10 minutes of training and get on out there. Like, they've had a little bit more experience than that in the war.
Sure.
So I definitely want the films to highlight that a little bit more, because if you called in reinforcements of, like, another Winter Warrior, now it just looks like you cloned one of the guys, and it's like, well,
Right.
that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a tough challenge. My preference is that they all kind of stay inside of the B1 tactical kind of sphere. We changed that a little bit for episode 4, to not to an extreme degree, but to a degree to where it kind of made sense. Because one of the things I was noticing in a lot of comments was that people just liked to have the armors that they liked to wear represented in the film. And that makes sense, but it more makes sense from like a gameplay perspective. And for me, integrating the other armors and the war bonds and stuff, that's been very difficult, because I guess I look at it from too much of an analytical lens of like, well, but these are like, I mean, they're skins, they're their armors. Like, in some cases, they don't really fit very well into there's a couple of cases where they don't fit into the narrative. Something like the borderline justice is one that I'm like, what?
my favorite.
It looks great, and I say that they actually do make an appearance in episode 6, so I have actually found a way to integrate them. But upon a lot of viewings, I was like, some of these. But then it made sense when Arrowhead was like, okay, well, but there's a reason for the war bonds being the way that they are. But yeah, coming up with the characters and making sure that you don't play into, well, and making sure that each character feels unique and individual, while also they're not. they have to be a blank slate John Smith. Nobody's ever, like, they just have to be regular Joes. At the same time, that's a difficult challenge, and something that I've been trying to figure out how to do, because you want the audience wants characters to attach to, but you're like, well, but that's not really the game. Like, there's not really characters to attach to.
Yeah, I will say that is something with the series, is there are no recurring characters. Like, whether or not the characters die, like, the story is the end of it, and we're moving on and we're exploring other things in different episodes. Because I get that a lot too, where it's like, can't tell you the amount of comments that I've gotten where it's like, are the first Galactic War veterans from For Liberty going to make an appearance in any of these? It's like, where? Like, the reason that they're memorable is because they showed up once for 4 minutes, did their thing, and left. And that's what everybody remembers from the movie. But it's like, I mean, for me, I hate when there's something that special in, like, a Hollywood film, and then they're just like, people really like that.
Right.
There's no way we could do that originally again with a different set of characters.
Right.
Then they beat it into the ground. So
yeah, they do. It's weird. I was just thinking of that, because we're not like, and we're in that now. Like, Darth Maul was that character in episode 1 for Star Wars, and now he's Now he's got his own animated series, and it's like, I mean, I guess, like, sure, why not? And I mean, I
I think that's I to that point with Star Wars specifically. I think the biggest atrocity that Star Wars ever committed was they made the universe incredibly small when it's like you have like it's not a universe like an IP universe. Star Wars is like an entire legitimate universe where people have interstellar travel and no like if you did a one of the I forget what they call it, but their version of an FTL jump. If you did an FTL jump to anywhere in the galaxy, nobody would know who the Skywalkers are. But everybody in Star Wars knows who the Skywalkers are. And like, everybody in the universe knows who Darth Vader is and stuff like that. And it's like everything has to tie back to that in some way where it's like I feel like with Helldivers, there's such an opportunity to be like when you meet these characters, it's like, they can be badass, they can be cowards, they can be whatever, but it's like at the end of the day, because of what the Helldivers universe is, they're also people that are just going to disappear after the film because that's what they're doing in the world that they live in. And it's kind of like I don't know if this like gets too much into like the political side of it, but a lot of times that's what happens with people who in our current day and age return from war. And it's like they did all these things. I mean, that's a lot of World War II veterans. The reason that as a society, we've only recognized them when they're old is because they came back from the Second World War. They went back to work. They disappeared into their lives. And then they started dying. And people were like, wait a second, these guys fought in the Second World War and nobody knows who they are. It's like that's the reality that we're living in today, in the modern world. And it's like imagine in the Helldivers universe where like everybody is more or less a barcode to the the greater the powers that be, and like they are just going to disappear after you had this like little vignette that looked into their specific scenario or whatnot. And I feel like that's what makes the Helldivers universe feel so large. I feel like with Heroes of the Galactic War specifically, uh there's some of this, but I think it even translates to the fact that Heroes of the Galactic War, Helldivers, Forever War, and any other amount of fan media that's out there, um, they all exist in Helldivers and are like they all feel like stories that are plausible because there is that ambiguity around the IP and it doesn't need to be tied back to like, oh, but make sure you include so and so because if everybody interacted with John Helldiver doesn't become as cool as as he is
right,
currently.
right. Yeah, that's a tough and tricky balance, in terms of trying to give, because you want what you're making to be viewed, and especially if you're going to do something like borrow an existing IP, you have to pay homage and respect where that is due. But there is something about, and I suspect that this is a little bit more with you and me, because you and me seem to have our own. We seem to understand to be so bold and audacious. We seem to understand the game at a bit of a different level than most folks do. To me, I found it a rather interesting balance to try to give something to the community while also being like, okay, but this is the way that I want to do it because this is the way that I see it, and this is like I'm interested in making a series about it because I think that there's aspects to the game that people aren't seeing. I think that there's an opportunity for narrative here that nobody is seeing, and it was a massive risk with the first episode, but per episode that we've released, it's continued to pay off. So
Mhm.
at the same time, so I it's a bit of a balance of wanting to say your piece in something while also acknowledging that there are fans of the game that are also watching. That's been a tough balance for me to try to figure out if like how far you need to go to the fan catering, and how far you need to stick to your own vantage point. I don't know if any of that
Yeah.
was coherent or gives you a jumping off point.
No. It 100% coherent, and I hear 100% where you're coming from. I think at the end of the day, and like this is what I tell, because people come to me all the time and they're like, I have this idea, or I really want, like, I think you should do XYZ or have these things. And,
Right.
everybody's going to have an opinion on what your thing should be.
Yes.
I think what you and
Yes. Well,
I
everyone would
are.
love you and me to make a Red versus Blue Helldivers series.
No, that's what we're doing, don't you know?
Right. Of course.
Um,
Of course. How could
but
I forget?
I think I think I think you and I have fundamentally proven, uh, in Helldivers specifically, but I think when it comes to anything, and I think, you know, um, I'm saying that because we're the ones on the call right now, but there are a number of other creators, who have done it in other IPs, to great success as well. But we're just dudes. We're just guys. We are sitting at the same computer. I assume you are sitting
Yes.
at the same computers we make these things in.
Yes.
And that's the day and age that we live in now, where, like, I remember, when we first put out, like, the trailer for Liberty, and we first started talking to Arrowhead. They were like, "Oh, where's your studio? Like, where are you guys based out of?" And I was like, "We all do this from our bedrooms. We're all over the place."
Yeah.
And they were like, "What?" And I was like, "We make these movies over Discord."
Yes.
Like, that's
Yep.
that's how this is all coming together. And so it's like, it's at, like we mentioned earlier, it's like Blender and Unreal, and even Source. It's like they're out there and available for you to use. But there's a very small number of people who are going to cut their teeth on trying to learn what that is, but it is possible, and everybody out here has, access to begin telling those stories in some capacity. But I think it's also like, not looking at what we do and seeing the production value and whatnot, and kind of seeing that as a limitation. If you can draw it on a cocktail napkin, like, congratulations, you're a storyteller. So
Right. Right. Yeah. And back to we mentioned this, gosh, probably an hour ago, but Flow is a fantastic. I think that's the name of the Blender short that won an Oscar. That's a fantastic example of, like, no one cares what you make any of this stuff on. They just care if you got something worth listening to. And that's that has been kind of my more snarky mentality of whenever I get somebody being like, well, you should do this. It's like, no, you should do that. Like, I I already have a boss in real life. Like, I work a day job. I have my customers. I do what I do. I work in a restaurant, and that's like I don't do this I don't do this to have people tell me what to do. And if you want to, like, my Patreon's open. Like, I guess I'm open for commissions, but this is me right now. This is me doing what I want to do, and I'm hoping that the risk of me doing something on paper massively stupid pays off, and that there's enough people that want to watch what I want to make. And if not, people always need people always need someone to work at a restaurant. But go down swinging while you're at it. So
now, 100%. I think that's like, I think a lot of people don't realize that either. Is like, this is what we're doing in our spare time for fun. We're just, trying to figure out more and more, like, how do we do it better? How do we legitimize it more? But at the end of the day, it's like we have the same amount of hours in our day that everybody else does. It's just it's a matter of, are you passionate enough to, stick something through and spend hours just trying to figure out why something broke, and not giving up on that until or finding another solution, because that's a lot of times what ends up happening.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. There have been
it's consistently getting up and doing that over and over and over again until you have something that you can post and put out there, which I do think is another important component that a lot of people miss. Is like, I would probably say that we're both our own our own largest critics, and that we want things to be as perfect as we can get them to be. But at the end of the day, it's like when we hit upload and we post it out there, like we've done something that a lot of people can't bring themselves to do at the end of the day, um, which kind of locks people into this place of not being able to have the experience of putting it out and then doing the next thing even better. I think is a huge component to all of this as well.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
But
There was something I was gonna add, but I forgot what it was. As happens, there have been a lot of times in this process of making these episodes where I because I end up though I have a small team, I still end up doing about 95% of the work, and 100% of that 95% of the work happens in this room that everybody can hopefully see if the camera's still on. Um, but oh man, I was gonna say something. It was gonna be fire. 95% of the work still gets done, and I totally lost it. Why do we even bother drinking? Oh yeah, um, there is there are so many times where I'm stuck in production. I'm like, I would never wish this on anyone ever. I hate being a filmmaker. This sucks. And then you watch the final product and you're like, all right, I'll do it again.
No, I was telling you, I'm very, very, very similar, where it's like, yeah, I'm probably doing like 85 to 90% of the work, and letting the especially talented people like thrive in the bit that really takes it across the finish line. But I was telling
Yes, yeah.
one of my buddies, he's a game developer, and I was like, yeah, like half of the process is, getting to the point where it's like, I hate this and I never want to do it again. And then it's like,
Yep.
it's what I imagine giving birth is like, because then, you you put it out there and it's done. And you're like, that was actually pretty good. And I totally like, I do not remember those sleepless nights at all. That was great. I want to do it again. So.
Yeah. I mean, having never given birth myself, but insofar as my limited knowledge is, I understand where you're coming from.
Oh man. But all right, man. Well, this has been a fantastic stream. We're a little over 2 hours now.
Holy crap! Yeah, we are, dude. This was a blast.
Yeah,
I've wanted to
it
talk to you
was
ever since the film came out, and I'm glad that we were able to finally put it together.
100%. Yeah, we'll have to do it again. Do you have
That'd be great.
a projected release date for your next project?
Oh hell no. That crap's gonna come out when it's good and ready. I don't know what it's. Oh my god, no! I have no idea when it's. I have no idea when it's gonna come out. But we are starting production on it. I'm getting to the point to where I don't want to vomit in my mouth when I look at the script again. So we're in the refinement stage, and then we're gonna start getting voice lines done, and then we're gonna do motion capture and stuff. So episode 5 is in production. We do not have a release date. For anyone that is interested in following on updates, you can follow me on social media at Helldivers Forever War on Instagram or TikTok. You can find me on YouTube, Sam Filmmaker. On YouTube, that's Sam Filmmaker. We just released episode 4. We have 3 more episodes that are already out. You can watch those, and then we have episode 5 and 6 in various stages of production. And that's me. Hey, this was a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate it. Would you do a shout out for my channel so everybody knows where they can find you?
Oh yeah. Plot Coalition anywhere and everywhere except for Facebook, because Facebook's stupid.
Dude, it is. I've tried posting there.
It's so bad.
It doesn't work.
but yeah, I just let everybody else repost my stuff there instead. But yeah, Plot Coalition everywhere. We're working on Heroes of the Galactic War, and are aiming to release on a regular cadence. But that all kind of depends on the success of the show and whatnot. But we have 8 episodes planned and rolling out, and should be a good time.
Excellent. I'm
All
really
right.
I'm really looking forward to the rest of the episodes. I'm really curious to see how you guys are going to handle that, and I think it's going
I
to
know.
be
I feel like
amazing to watch
we
for the
have we have
fans.
two different we have two different perspectives because you're in the middle of your show and we just started ours. So
Exactly. Yeah,
it's
it'll be a lot of fun to see you guys. It'll be a lot of fun to see you guys release these episodes. I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with.
yeah, likewise.
Thank
All
you.
right, well, everybody, have a good night, and Sam, thank you once again.
Yeah, thanks, Caleb. This was a lot of fun. Let's do it again.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you later.
All right, take care. Have a good night, y'all. Thanks
Bye.
for watching, and we will see you guys when we see you guys. Take care.